Good morning and welcome back to the Department of Southern Armament Research. Today we're back here at our favourite Hungarian club for another DSAR salute to historic firearms. Yes, it is the October Australian Arms Auction once again. Whole range of old school and some fairly new stuff in the auction catalogue this time round. So we're going to do our usual thing, take a tour around, see what's inside and see if there's any bargains to be had. I seem to be somewhat overdressed. Why the hell am I wearing a tie? Something's different.
No, I don't think so, Ron.
Weird.
This does feel a little bit more normal.
Alright, so first item, something that's very popular at the moment, the Ross Mark III. Ross Mark III obviously was Canada's service rifle for the start of World War I. Straight pull, .303 calibre. Mark III is distinguished by its unique magazine and multiple helical cuts for the locking lugs. Has a very unique sighting system as well. Both an aperture, V-notch, and a battle V-notch as well. Very fine sight picture. Thus why they were banned from early target rifle competitions back in the day as a target rifle masquerading as a service rifle. Extremely long heavy barrel, much longer, close to MLE length rather than SMLE. Had their own unique variation of bayonet and a nice square front post. So, this particular item has been deactivated unfortunately, however the holes have been plugged up. Now, if you happen to know of a rather willing gunsmith and you have the legal ability to do so in certain states, you can actually reactivate depending on where the holes are drilled, if the receiver's been tapped, etc. Deactivation standards vary state to state, as do the ability to reactivate. See the plug holes there. But I do know of at least 3 Mark III Rosses that have been resurrected, particularly in Queensland last few years, and are living quite happily in competition. Another one I wish I could take home. Okay, next up's a rifle I have a little bit of a checkered history with. This is a 1904 Portuguese contract Mauser. Being an early Mauser, there's a few features on here that are a little different to the K98 that everyone is used to. So at this stage in repeating firearms history, Mauser was experimenting with features that they decided they might want. So this one in particular, straight bolt handle, however is a split bridge. Cock-on opening like later designs, however he was experimenting with cock-on close as well in the 96. Stripper clip loading. Quite a nice and smooth action. Now, I said I had a checkered history with this rifle. We're going to cut in some footage here of me banging away at a shoot called the Desperate Defender back at QMRC in Queensland, where you get to shoot other people's rifles for 2 rounds and move down the line. I came to this gentleman's rifle, which was one of these. I shouldered it up, got the first round away, went to reload at a rapid rate, and proceeded to smash the cocking piece off. Yeah, it luckily didn't cost me. He accepted that it was an old rifle and was likely to happen, but I think I got out of that one a little bit lightly. But as you can see, lovely example here. Most of it's bluing intact. Nice, short, handy. Lovely, big, solid protective wings around the front sight, which would later be deleted on German manufactured rifles.
I'll see you tomorrow, mate.
cleaning rod, and provision for the bayonet itself. Tangent sight, as opposed to the Longevizier sight of the Gewehr 88. The 1904.
Alright guys, something a little bit different. Your K98K. Mauser. But really, who cares about that?
Oh, you haven't got manual disease, have you?
When you have this. Rifled, muzzle loaded, muzzle mounted grenade launcher. I have no idea where you would actually get one of these to fire, whether they're live or blank. As far as I'm aware, they don't make chalk rounds for these, but honestly, something just incredibly cool. I'm not going to try to talk to you about history about it, because honestly I don't know, but if you're anything like me, you've used these in video games, and they are freaking awesome. Comes complete with the sights. For all your GLA action. Alright, another one for our Battlefield fans. Springfield 1903 with an experimental ridge-mounted telescopic sight. This one is being listed as US Marine issue. And unlike the one from our earlier video, this one does not appear to have been refurbished at all, so it is as is. Externally adjusted as opposed to the internal adjustments which you see on modern scopes. So you can see there. I will say, if this were me using it, it has got an incredibly short eye relief, which does, at least for me, not sound very pleasant for shooting. But yet another awesome bit of history, which you can pick up here at the auction.
All right, have a go at this little beauty. Rather unusual item. 54 caliber, just referred to in the documentation as a capping rifle. Beautiful Damascus barrels, missing the front sight unfortunately. 7-groove rifling. But that's not even the most interesting part of it. Looks like an external hammer, but it doesn't seem to align with anything, aside from an absolutely beautiful engraving. Operate this lever here, and that is how you access the breech. Load your powder and ball, your cap over there, close him up, and we have an external superfluous hammer, but yet the hammer is actually internal. This thing is beautiful and light, absolutely gorgeous furniture, and that's really all we have on this little beauty. All right, this thing's really cool. Part one of this next lot is this beautiful percussion gun made by, proofed by Mortimer. Lovely pineapple skull growing. Sporting rifle, so sighted for 150 and 200 yards. However, up the front here, we have a lug for some sort of high angle target sight, one would presume. Now down here on the patch box, we have some lovely engraving for Archery and Rifle Club of Scotland. In addition to some more beautiful scroll work. 60 calibre, so relatively light by military standards of the day, but for target use, more than what you need. Part 2 of this lot, tin box containing one fantastic hat. Back in the day when club uniforms were a little bit more spectacular than what they are today, this was all the rage. Lovely peaked green felt hat. Noting this was a West Highlands Rifle and Archery Club. Gorgeous. All right, so you've probably heard the term fixed bayonets, but have you heard the term fixed swords? Yes, if you are a fan of Bernard Cornwell novels, Guys in Green Jackets, or the Sharp's Rifle series, this should look very familiar to you. This is obviously the bayonet, or sword bayonet, off the 1800 Baker rifle of Sean Bean fame. Obviously quite a long and large bayonet, capable of being wielded as a short sword if required. But yeah, getting run through by that would not be a particularly pleasant experience, I can tell you. Obviously the bayonet was quite long to account for the short overall length of the Baker rifle itself, giving you the same reach when in line as the Brown Bess musket. Actually a idea you'd see repeat itself with the introduction of the SMLE and the 1907 pattern. Mounted to the side of the rifle on a lug, so it's actually off centre from the bore to allow you to still muzzle load as required. First time I've actually seen one of these in the flesh, and really cool. So, here at the Australian Arms Auctions, it's not all about the rifles, the bayonets, pistols, etc. There are some other items of military history here as well, from muzzle loading components through to some really unique armourer's tools. So what we have here is a thread test plate. This was part of the armourer's toolkit for British service. So where all the little screws that came off your Lee Enfields and your Bren guns, etc. You could always test the threads to make sure everything was in spec before you reassembled. Whether in the field or at depot, the tool would have been no different. Obviously a precision piece of British engineering. And to complement this particular item, we don't just have the thread test plate. Obviously you can see the where the check threads have been pressed into the actual paddle itself. We also have the good old engineer's micrometer to go with it. Lovely condition. I would still use this in my shed today. This one's obviously marked SAF Lithgow. No point in having all these fine items if you can't maintain them. All right, another awesome little item here. It's a pair of Regimental Dirks. This one in particular is from the Queen's own Cameron Highlanders. mostly an accoutrement. However, in the early days, were very much designed as a weapon. However, if you're carrying around your big fighting knife, what are you going to eat with? So rather than carrying around a whole set of cutlery, why not throw a little toasting fork and your own little eating knife with it? Utility and lethality. The second Dirk they have is from 92nd Gordon Highlanders. This one has some lovely etching in the blade. Has its regimental title on crest evident under the 92nd. I'll see a little bit later, a little bit more ornate with the cutlery. Just exquisite detail on these little things. All right, next item. Looks a little bizarre. Some sort of mutton leg poacher's shotgun of some sort. Well, inside this lovely leather case, which unfortunately is deteriorating, is a World War I trench periscope. If you look at old images of Commonwealth servicemen in the trenches in World War I, you'll see them using all kinds of mechanisms for obviously trying to get a look over the trench without exposing themselves. This is referred to as the number 25 trench periscope. So I get it out of the case here. There's a wooden handle that attaches, but I'm not going to go pulling that one out. So, just a simple couple of reflective lenses. Elevate your lens. The handle would attach down to the bottom here. And just like a submarine periscope, take a look at the world that's going on around you. As I said, just a simple prism up the top. Commonwealth marks, ownership marks. This one's actually in quite nice condition, although the lenses, being as old as they are a little bit crazed. But much safer than sticking your head over or having to cobble together something using a couple of mirrors and a stick. Just another cool piece of history here at the Australian Arms Auctions. All right, so a little bit of unique Australian colonial history here. Well, not really colonial, actually closer to the Gold Rush era. What we have here is a pair of Tower carbines. One is in 66 caliber. See, it's fixed rear sight. This is referred to as a Yeomanry carbine. Nice brass fixtures, short, light and handy. And the second is the volunteer pattern, again made by Tower. And these were particularly popular with the mounted police during the Gold Rush era. Obviously noting short, light and handy for a good constable wandering around the goldfields alone on their horse. Saddle ring. Adjustable ladder sight on this one. And the other unique feature is, of course I had to pick the one that is now retained. Your ramrod is retained, so when you're bouncing around on horseback, less likely to lose it. Lovely little carbines, but also still available here for your black powder enthusiast need.
Looks like a normal side-by-side shotgun, 20 gauge, because it's not quite as big as a 12. But when you crack it open, you'll see there, it's got a rifle barrel in it as well, commonly known as a drilling. This is a very interesting bit of kit. It's got flip-up sights for when you're using the rifle. They're marked at 160. 3 triggers. Safety in the usual spot. Just an awesome little bit of kit. And the caliber on that one, 450 Express, which is rather large if you'll have a look down there. Very cool.
So, very familiar to most of us. Did a review on one of these recently on the channel. However, this one looks similar. That's slightly different. Yes, rather than being an 03A3, this is just a straight 1903. Springfield, that is. And this one actually legitimately is made by the Springfield Arsenal. A few differences I'd just like to point out. Obviously, it's still your standard Springfield Mauser style action. Still get your magazine cut off, all that good stuff. You will note, however, as much as it's parkerized, it's actually closer to bluing. A few components here are parked, but most of it is still quite a nice blue. The other major difference between the 03A3 and the 03 itself is this rear sight, commonly referred to as the Buffington battle computer. So you've got a very fine little U-notch there. You have a giant U-notch up the top for all the distance. You have another U-notch that you can adjust for elevation. A peep sight that goes with it for all your CMP national match needs. Plus, you also can adjust your windage by unlocking a sight, and your windage will go around with it. Other thing interesting to note that I find particularly interesting is the front sight. This one's got a front sight hood on it, which rattles. They would probably disturb your point of impact more than your bayonet. However, they do clip on a little bit tighter than that. Is the thickness of that front sight. If we can get that into focus, you'll see that that is several dozen times thicker than my 03A3. Much more useful as a combat rifle at normal ranges. However, you've got a really fine rear sight to try and line it up with, so it still doesn't make sense. Anyway, really cool. This one's got the straight stock because in the 03 configuration there was no pistol grip option. Obviously that carried on to the early production of the 03A3s as well until they produced the C stocks. Nice little piece.